Yes, we do. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank
you. Leading ladies, good morning. And to the gentlemen in the room, lucky you. So I just want to take 10 minutes at most before I join Yawa. And it's because I want to tell you my story and hope that you can understand how the journey to prominence goes. Something you don't know about me, the secretary to the cabinet was my roommate in Hall 12. Why didn't you stay on Parkland's campus? I will never understand. She walked to Parkland's every day because she studied law. And back in the day, we knew we were looking for big things, but we didn't know what it would look like. So when I first walked into the studio, I was a banker before I was a broadcaster. Well, I did econ and maths. You can ask my roommate. When I walked into that studio at KISS 100 as the first female at 25 years later, as a morning host, radio host, I had no idea what prominence was, what it really meant. All I knew was the mic is on, 1 million or so people are listening, and there's really no room to hide, so you get on with the job. So overnight, I went from being a voice in training to being a voice the whole country is waking up to. And then you begin to realize that a microphone is a privilege. And the fact that anybody would even wake up and listen to you is actually a responsibility. And that was my baptism by fire, my crash course in what it means to be visible. Because prominence can also be defined as visibility. And let me tell you, visibility is not just light, it's also heat. Because when we think prominence, we think, oh, spotlight. Yes, it's light, but it's also heat. And it will test your confidence, it will test your values and your sense of self. So when I saw today's theme, Prepare for Prominence, I smiled because prominence doesn't just happen. You don't stumble into it. And if you do, it will eat you alive. I want to tell you that here and now. Prominence must be prepared for because it's built. Often it's built quietly, long before the spotlight even finds you. And you build it quietly by everything you do today. And somebody once asked me, how do you talk like that? Why do you read like that? And it took me a while to realize it starts at home, it starts at school, because you read. I'm a Catholic girl. You're like, well, you'll do the second reading in church. Okay, you go up and you get it done. And you constantly learn how to be able to handle a microphone and know how to look at your notes and look up. It is something you build over time. So the first thing you will do is do the work. And I remember my first months on air at KISS, people only heard the jokes, the debates, the fire. What you never saw was 4 a.m. And 4 a.m. is not pretty. It's tough. For 17 years, I went to bed latest by 9:30. Because you cannot wake up at 4 and be articulate and sharp. And remember, an audience requires you you can't honestly come with your half-baked ideas and expect people to be listening to you at 6 a.m. Nobody sees the research that I have to devour, the constant practice to sound sharp, to sound prepared, to be able to deliver every single message within 1 minute and 30 seconds. Because there was a time, all there was timing. And you've got to be able to understand that a clock is 24 hours, is exactly 60 minutes. So in those 60 minutes, you've got about 12 minutes of advertising. And then there's another 20 minutes of music. And what's left behind is where you come in. And remember, part of that is also commercial airtime. So literally, I'm the sort of person who will sit and say, because this will be 2 minutes long, this will be this will be this. You'll introduce the next song, and then you'll go into the news, or you'll introduce the next item, then you'll do the client comment, and then and then take a phone call. Nobody sees that. And so doing the work is something you've got to be ready for. Just by show of hands, how many of you here have been told, oh, you make it look so easy when you do your job? Yet they haven't seen the hours of preparation, The late nights, the early mornings, the 2 a.m. I mean, like, I don't know about you, but I sleep with a notebook next to my bed because sometimes something will occur to me when I want water and I'll have to jot it down because it'll be gone by 6. But nobody sees that. And that's the part where there's no clapping. But that's where prominence is built. And that's the first truth about prominence. You must do the work. You must actually hone your craft. You must be absolutely clear about what it is you represent when you stand up. And what Yawa made us all do to be able to introduce ourselves was literally what you did. In that moment, you were prominent. Because you told us about you, you told us what we don't know about you, and to the ladies who use a firearm well, please can we get together because so do I. I haven't been to the shooting range in about a year, but so do I. But prominence is the work you will put in. It's the first truth about it. So when the doors open, you don't hesitate, you don't flinch. You walk through ready. Prominence is about, without preparation, is a performance. And it doesn't work. Prominence with preparation is power. The other thing you have to be very clear about is owning your story. The second part, after you've done the work, is preparing for prominence, is owning your story, yours, not the one people will tell about you. Because if you don't, someone else will write it for you and they will not write it well or kindly. Yeah, I already told you. You Google some things about me and you're like, do I want to be around her? But remember, for the longest time, and especially as a woman, I was 25. I mean, when I looked at the young lady who's on her gap year, I thought, oh my goodness. I was 25. I had this huge platform. And then there's the way I sounded, and then there's the way I was, and there's the way I articulated things. So I cannot tell you how tired I got of hearing, 2 terms about me. That I'm arrogant and I am controversial. I'm not controversial. I have never said anything you didn't think. I just said it out loud. Everything I said when I was on air, you were thinking it. It's just that the minute I said it out loud, you're like, oh, Caroline. But you must own your story. And I'll share this with you. When I first got on radio, the story that they told about me wasn't written by me. Some said I was too bold, too aggressive, too much. Actually, I was a lot. But then again, I'm also a convent girl. I'm a Loreto girl. I was not raised any other way. So I realized, no, it's not me to lean into how you think I need to be. You need to understand I was raised like this. And Mercy said, you need to be ready. I came like this. I didn't know any other way. 12 years, one school. And when I tell people about me, they squint a little. I'm like, have you met my people? They're Justice Njoki Ndungu. It's Wangare Maathai. It's Gladys Cholet. We are Loreto girls. We don't know any other way to be. We're coming and we're not going anywhere. So lean into it. We'll wait, but we're not leaving. And of course, there were those who said she's lucky. I mean, it won't last, apparently. And now, if I'd let those voices define me, I'd have shrunk. So I learned to write my own narrative. I claimed my space, which you must do. I stopped apologizing for being loud, opinionated, and challenging, because that's what makes me. Okay? And I didn't understand why you didn't want us to challenge things. A lot of what we enjoy as women today was created by women who challenged stuff. It was Wangari, it was Martha Karua, it was Charity Ngilu. Those women were the ones who made sure we could be gathered here today without anybody asking, Munenda wapi, where are you going? To be with who? Other women, to do what? Because that's what their lives were like. And my audience needed that of me. They might not have wanted it because there's some people probably sat in their cars and sat in the matatu like, ouch, did she say that? Or did she just call the cabinet minister in charge of whatever and ask him what's happening with the pothole on? That's what I used to do. And here's a lesson. When you don't define yourself, the world will misdefine you. And you've got to be very clear. Mercy said, call yourself to a summit. The other day, and for the women I now mentor, I'm like, have you had your summit? And Pinky Galani, who does an amazing event once a year called What Women Want, she calls me, she tells me, what am I going to do next year? I was like, have you had a summit? And she actually sent me a picture. She said, I have checked into a hotel. I am here for the day. This is my tea. This is my coffee. You must often call yourself to order. Preparing for prominence means sharpening your voice and deciding what you stand for before you ever step onto a stage. Now, prominence also requires you to make room for others. And this is my third truth. First, you will do the work. Then you will own your story. You will define it. And then you'll make room for others. Prominence isn't about being seen. It's about pulling others into the light with you. And too often, and I'm not worried about the women in this room, but I do know, as I was coming up, there was that case of, why would you share the spotlight? It doesn't diminish. It doesn't. I've never understood why anybody thinks, no, but that will take away from me. That's silly. In fact, in that case, the spotlight is only on you and it will dim. I think often about the women who never got the microphone, who never got the seat at the table. What was the point of me being first if I was also going to be last? What is the point? So over the years, I've made it my mission to mentor younger women, but also just women in the same space as I am. I do not have a problem. Come to me and say, there is this thing, I can't see the other side of it, and I'm happy to sit with you. I amplify other women, African brands. I use my platform not only for me, but for others. Because it's pointless for you to have the spotlight and then you become the first woman, whoever, and then you're also the last. What a small world that would be. Take a moment. Think of one younger woman, a colleague, a friend, hi Jemima, who would benefit from you pulling her forward. And Jemima knows, she was head of HR at Radio Africa, technically my boss, but then again, you can't run me. But Jemima knows that when she was having a hard time, when she couldn't see around the corner, I'll tell her, breathe. Okay? Because it's one thing to run an organization with regular people, and then when you manage talent, oh, you have no idea. Prima donnas extraordinaire, but I'm famous. Yeah. But the microphone isn't yours. If you leave here, you leave the microphone behind. So sometimes when she couldn't say the hard things, I would say them for her. And when you think about a woman, a colleague, a friend who could benefit from you pulling her forward, kicking and screaming, by the way, because sometimes we can see the greatness in another woman and she's like, no, I don't like those things. Which ones? You pull her kicking and screaming. And that's because prominence is not just about what you achieve, it's about who you bring along. Okay? Prominence that ends with you dies with you. Prominence that lifts others outlives you. You want to ensure that long after you're gone, long after you're done, they'll still say your name in rooms. I used to think, and I remember when I came off air in 2014, I was like, okay, finally, I can just be me. I met my girlfriends for lunch, so I was like, it was my last show on air. And of course, from the car park to the restaurant, I still got stopped. And somewhere in my head, I thought, once the headphones go down, the microphone goes off, I'll become a normal person. No. 20-something years later. And then I realized if you actually use your voice, your presence, your space, your intellect well, it doesn't matter when the microphone goes off. It really doesn't matter. You continue to be a presence, and it's crucial you do that. So let me bring it together. Preparing for prominence isn't about chasing the spotlight. The spotlight is very fickle. Okay? It will love you today and turn on you tomorrow. Preparing for prominence is about building a foundation that will carry the weight of when the visibility comes. Okay? Whereas Jemima lifts weights, which means, and so do I now. But then again, I'm 50. I'm in my 50s. If I don't lift weights, there's problems. We start getting up from seats like this. Okay? But the truth is, if you lift the weight, it does the work on your bones, on your structure. Preparing for prominence is about building a foundation that carries the weight of visibility. The work that makes you competent, the story that makes you authentic, the generosity that makes your impact lasting. Because prominence isn't a prize, it's a responsibility. So as I get ready to sit down with Yawa, I want you to understand that what you're doing is crafting an authentic visibility. And I want to leave you with a challenge. What's the point of me being here if I don't challenge you? The world doesn't need any more women who look good under the spotlight. We all know how to do the contour, doesn't matter. There's a YouTube for it. It needs more women who are unshakable when the spotlight turns harsh. Okay? So don't chase the prominence, prepare for it, build the substance and the story and strength so that when it finds you, you will not only rise, but you'll lift others with you. And this is my clear challenge. I need you to begin to own narratives that can only be ascribed to you. Now, those of you who are not visiting, who are actually, it matters, across the continent. I was approached by somebody who said, we're wondering whether you will speak at our first ever dyslexia conference in Africa. And I was like, sadly, your dates don't match with mine, I'll be away. I asked, what are you doing? They said, well, we want to start the conversation dyslexia in Kenya. I said, what do you mean? It's never been had? I was told no. In fact, Africans don't believe there's such a thing as dyslexia. They don't believe that neurodivergency occurs. And it's very hard. It's hard on teachers, it's hard on parents. I said, okay, leave it with me. They said, but we don't have a budget. I said, no, I haven't asked you for a shilling. And for me, it's the fact that I started a conversation just where I was. Sitting in my office, I usually have a Nikon, the tripod stand, and the microphone. And it forced mainstream media to have the conversation. KTN had to do something on it. I believe there was a full opinion ed in The Nation about it, and it will continue. I need you all to pick a thing. This is how prominence works. You pick a thing and you run with it. I'm about to start a very interesting and uncomfortable conversation about education, because I'm worried about what the future of work looks like if education today does not match up. But my prominence is built on the fact that I take a cause and I run with it. And then you know me for it. Those of you who are about the same age as Mercy and I remember when I first started the sanitary towel conversation. Nobody talks about that. Caroline, what are you talking about? And being a private school brat, I did not know that there are girls in this country who go to school and cannot go to school because they don't have a sanitary towel. There's a problem with the fact that, I went to private school for 12 years and then I went to the University of Nairobi and I hang out with Mercy. And when you're from Nairobi, you make out, 0.0000001% of the population at the campus. So by the time, the issue of the fact that girls missed school because they were menstruating was put on my table, I went with it. I ran with it. I ran with it all the way until I made an enemy of Dr. Nikal. Because I remember Jockey Ndongo is the one who helped me move and this is the other thing, find a thing and hold it until it works. Okay? Because I remember when we were having the conversation and I was making sure that you guys understand what I'm doing with Procter & Gamble, we're doing donations, and Jockey looked at me and she asked me, what's the problem? I said, girls don't have sanitary towels. She said, no, that's not the problem. What's the problem? And I said, I don't know. She said, leave it with me. And she comes back to me two weeks later. At the time, she was a nominated member of parliament. And she said, your problem is in Treasury. I said, what are you talking about? She said, sanitary towels are grouped under luxury goods, along with cognac, brandy, cigars, and Mercedeses. Yes, they were luxury products. And she said, you need to get the VAT removed. And that's where we started. And I still tell Kewapa to this day, dare they ever wake up and I see we're being taxed to menstruate, I will campaign against every woman, and I have the space. Because I'm not going to watch it. Jockey got it taken out and we moved on. But then she told me, but you can't stop here. You got to find a way, you got to legislate. You got to find a way to ensure that girls in rural areas can get access to sanitary towels. She told me your job is to write to the Ministry of Health and ask them to assign a section of their budget to the provision of. And I wrote to Charity Ngilu at the time, and her PS was Dr. Nikal, who wrote to me and told me all their money was tied up in HIV and AIDS prevention. And because I was young, I wrote back to them and I told them that sex is elective and menstruation is mandatory, they're making no sense. Charity Ngilu didn't talk to me for about 3 years. But the thing is, and then I wrote to the Ministry of Education and I said, make a provision, and I know they tried to do it. And then later on, when Raila was Prime Minister, I put it on his table and he asked for it to happen. And then we moved again and we asked for it to be put in law. And finally, I think it was signed by Uhuru Kenyatta in 2017. I'd been working with that thing for 10 years. For 10 years. And then, because I will not only walk with one thing, I need to pass on the baton. And this is the thing about us women. You've got to learn to do this. It's a relay. I'm not going to slow down, but you must catch up with me because I will pass it on. And that's what Kina Janet Bogwa are doing. And I'll go to other things. Where's my Kenya care policy, Mercy? It's coming. The care policy for me is crucial because the work of women and girls is not recognized. We act like the work that women do is free. But the minute somebody else has to do it, we pay. So how do we act like women are free labor? It's a problem. I don't want to get started. Yawa is going to throw me off stage. But this is why I say when it comes to prominence, this is my challenge to you, you must find where you lend your voice to authentically. And then you do the work. Because if you do the work, it's the muscle building. And when the spotlight finds you, it finds you ready. Because remember, prominence is not a nice thing to have. It's a responsibility. But it also comes with not just light, but with heat. Thank you very much.